Hi, today I'd like to update you about my thoughts on the PRADA eyeshadows. As you can see, I purchased number 4.3 and I have a short where I do the unboxing. I just wanted to try the formula and therefore I decided to purchase only the refill. This palette is €65 just for the refill. That is aligned with the price of a Chanel quad that has all the packaging, so it is quite expensive. Although the product I believe is much more because it is 6 grams. It's 3 times the amount of product of a Chanel quad. And I purchased this palette because of this pink here, because I found this pink to be quite unique in my arsenal, and I will make some comparisons and I will show you. I already swatched a few pinks, but indeed it's quite unique. It's cool toned, while most of the pink eyeshadows I own are peachy pink. Usually they tend to be warmer than this, and indeed I found that I don't have dupes for this. My first choice would have been number 3 Pulse because of that grey mauve shade in the middle, but that one was not available for purchase, so that's why I picked this one. I thought when I purchased this palette that I could mix actually this green to this reddish brown to make something that was more muted. You don't have to use this pop of color as it is. You can mix and match with other shades to make it more subtle, and that's true. I think this is quite wearable. So let's talk about the formulas. My favorite formula out of this quad is the central one, that is the Satin shade. So I will swatch these ones. So this is the Satin shade that is actually the color of my skin. Let me swatch it here. There's a very elegant, subtle sheen that I love. So I would consider other quads just because of this formula. But you can imagine that paying €65 for just one eyeshadow, the central one, this big triangle, is, it's not ideal, right? It's kind of a waste. So I may purchase other quads in the future, but only with a discount and in the refill. This formula here, that is the shiny one, let me swatch it, is this one. The color is very nice. Overall, this quad is very pretty, but the problem is that the formula is not my favorite. The closest one, if you want a comparison, is the McGrath shiny formula from the Quints, the holiday Quints, and the Star Wars Quints. This one I think is the closest formula. This is close in the sense that is kind of silicone-y, smooth, almost creamy. That is the closest. There are different colors, but I just want to show you the shine and the texture. They are quite similar. So sometimes, for example, with some shades, like for example this one, the effect is so shiny that for me is too much, while the PRADA one is kind of more subtle, not to emphasize too much my texture. But if you like this kind of formula by McGrath, then you will love the PRADA ones. In my opinion, this one is not my favorite already, and for that reason also this metallic formula is not my favorite. And the reason is that over the course of the day it gathers into my lines. The effect is not the one that I prefer, that is my favorite, that is the one from Baked Shades. It's not that good on my lids. There's kind of an aging effect, scaly effect, just like a fish, because over the time the effect is as the eyeshadow breaks into kind of scales on my skin, and I feel older. That's my experience I have with this eyeshadow over the course of the day. That is my experience by using this eyeshadow at the office. Actually, after lunchtime, I was already seeing something that I didn't like on my eyes. So it's not my favorite. I prefer the baked shades because they give me that shine and they tend to fade evenly without make me look older. Also, these two mattes were also not my favorite. They are soft to the touch. To me, they're not pigmented enough. You see how it translates on the skin. This is a shade that for me is quite similar to the Pat McGrath one. Maybe, yeah, the Pat McGrath is a plum that is more reddish. This is more brown compared to this one, but it's a reddish brown, and I'm allergic to this plum shade by Pat. But I didn't experience any allergy from this one. It's a good reddish brown that doesn't provoke me any irritation, so I'm happy about that. This green, again, you see how soft it is? To me, it is patchy if you try to blend it. I use it only as liner of accent of color, so for me it's fine, even if it is not very pigmented or easy to blend. It gives that soft focused effect of a very soft matte. I like it, but I don't love it. What I'm experiencing with these, I couldn't tell actually the difference among the two, other than maybe the pigmentation, that the green is a softer, but also for this one I cannot use it very efficiently as a liner because it's not pigmented enough. I tried here, as you can see here, to wet a bit the brush to get more pigment, but still it was not the pigmentation I like from an eyeshadow that I use as a liner. So it was a letdown because both of these, in my opinion, lack pigmentation to be used as accent. I need to go with the brush multiple times in order to get the color that I want. And sometimes I'm not even satisfied with the result. I only like a lot this formula, but I don't like the rest enough. So that's my review. About the packaging, the refill comes without any plastic. So if you buy a refill, keep in mind that you need a case to put the refill in. And the perfect one, in my opinion, is this by Nabla, that again, unfortunately, if you own these kind of small palettes, then you are lucky, but that I don't think they are still available for purchase. This fits perfectly. This part, with this plastic part, as a sticker, and I will use it to put a metallic pen to make it magnetic so that I can finally attach to this Nabla palette. In the future, I plan to purchase the number 3 Pulse, and because of that I would prefer a case that can house 2 of these Prada quads. And if you do this, yeah, you can also do this. You can fit the quad in this direction. Without the compartment for the brushes, would have been able to house 2 of these quads, but unfortunately there's this part that prevents the fitting of another Prada quad here. This, by the way, is a Glaminatrix pen. Anyway, for now I will fit this quad here, but I have to figure out a way to house multiple quads because I think in the future I will purchase another of this because I like this satin formula. So as I said, the metallic color, this one here, is quite unique. I tried to swatch a few other pinks that I thought they were similar, but they all tend to be peachier than this one. This is Nude Venus from Pat McGrath. It was a single, but it was available also in the Celestial Odyssey Holidays 2021. big mega mothership palette. This is a Suqqu 102, the pink one. These two are from Suqqu 03 palette, permanent palette. This is another shade that is too light, as you can see, but it was cool toned. It's by Suqqu again. This is another shade that is too mauve. The top left shade in the Rose Metals palette that was released for the holidays. So there's this one, the Mothership Divine Rose 2. There was this one that is enough cool toned. You can notice the difference, right? But I think it's the closest, so we'll put it here. This is Eleganza, it's called Eleganza. It's a different formula, but you can see it gives a similar shine. I think they are quite close, right? So Eleganza is a tad more purple, while the Prada one is more pink. I'm tired of pinks, but at the same time, I don't have a lot of cool pinks like this. I think that cool pinks are still not so common in the market. And let me see if there's something from Huetopian Dream. Maybe this pink one here. This is definitely more coral. This has also a duochrome quality. It shifts orange, you see. So it's definitely warmer in tone. So I think that this is quite unique, as I said. I don't have exact dupes of this color by Prada. But yeah, this is the closest comparison I can give you. And I think this is the prettiest because of the tone. This is too purple for me, and this is too warm and bright for me, for my liking, of course. The quality is top notch. You know that I'm not fond of this type of formula by Pat McGrath. I'm curious to compare this one to Chantecaille Pangolin. That's the only shade I have left. Is another mauvish kind of color, but again is a taupish mauve, very pretty. I will put it here. Yeah, it's a taupish subtle version of Eleganza, but still different from this one by Prada. I forgot this one. I just wanted to show you the difference with this one that is color from Pat McGrath Bridgerton 2 palette that is definitely more salmon pink, is more orange, so it's warmer, and also this one that is quite lighter. So this is the color. Let me put it here. So these are the Pat McGrath pinks, are either too saturated or warmer. And this is the light pink. Let me put it here. It is definitely whitish. All these pinks are all different. I much prefer the mauvish kind of colors, more taupish, desaturated rather than brighter than like these Pat McGrath. But this Prada, as you can see, has this uniqueness in color. My favorite texture is still the baked shade. You see how shinier and different in terms of how it looks on the skin. Another comparison that I promised last time with my last video is with this Florasis one. We have a pink in this Florasis palette, but it's still warm. So I will put it here. And this is another texture that is quite similar. So very silicone-y, almost cream to powder. So it's very nice. I expect it to be darker, and it's definitely lighter than this by Prada. I also tried to layer a baked shade actually from a Guerlain quad on top of this Prada one, just to lighten up the color without adding texture. but it didn't work. I didn't like the effect of the layering process because the baked shade on top didn't prevent this shade to gather into lines, maybe because this shade was at the base. I will try to do the opposite, so start with the baked shade and then layer this on top, but still it has a grip, it has a kind of cream to powder, a little bit thicker texture that it's not my favorite, so I don't expect it to have a better looking on my skin. We are talking about personal preferences, of course. I want to compare this peach shade, so I will swatch again the peach shade on the other arm. It's difficult to distinguish from my skin. I will put it here. And let me compare with a few peaches. I like peachy shades. This has the perfect amount of pink. It's not too orange, and that's what I like very much. My favorite peaches of all time are the Viseart ones, these ones. These are the best peaches because they're actually close to my skin tone over the time of the year. I tend to be this color during winter, mix this with the white, but then with summer I can get to this point here. So I particularly love this row. This is my favorite row of the Viseart Neutral Matte palette. So I want to, you know, compare it. This one is the closest. Oops. My gosh, this is so pigmented. I mean, this one, the third one from the right. This one, I will put it here. This has my favorite matte formula, is still my favorite, but this has a tad of shine, this by Prada, and it's a touch more pink compared to the Viseart that is more orange. Let me also swatch this other peach that is darker, is even more orange. Okay, I need to build up, but the closest is this one. Okay, I think you can see a bit the texture of my skin compared to the Viseart. You see how smooth are the Viseart. See the difference? I can see granularity here compared to this, to these two. So Viseart mattes are still my favorite because of the way they blend, the way they look on skin, the longevity they have. I love them for multiple reasons. I also have Natasha Denona peaches, and I want to show you these ones. So these are from the Tropic palette that has been discontinued. This should be pastel melon, and this one, maybe it was nudist. Yeah. Anyway, these are two Natasha Denona mattes, very creamy. So I will put nudist here. And this is again more orange. This is pastel melon. So actually, if you own, these are quite close, right? If you own Natasha Denona Tropic palette, this by Prada is, let's say, the satin version of this color. Okay, this is the peach comparison. The matte shade from Huetopian Dream is actually very close to the brown. So this is Pat McGrath Huetopian Dream, and this is the original brown from Prada. So these are close dupes. And let me see if I own something similar to this green. These greens are almost identical. So all in all, if you own the Pat McGrath Huetopian Dream, Pat McGrath ABH Rose 2, and the Viseart Grande Pro 3, then you practically own the Prada quad number 4.3. You don't really need it unless you want to try the formula. Natural lightning, you can see how close are the two greens. On the left the Prada ones, on the right the Viseart, and then the two reddish browns. At the top, Pat McGrath Huetopian Dream, at the bottom Prada. Then these are the shimmers. The pinkish one in the center is the Prada one. See how beautiful is the Chantecaille Pangolin. These are the other shades that I swatched. And finally, the peaches, that are these ones. And I think you can see here the difference in texture. At the left are the Viseart ones, then there's the Prada one, that is the Satin one. And then the last two at the right are the Natasha Denona ones from the Tropic palette. Personally, my suggestion is to go for more unique color stories like number 3 Pulse or even number 2 Profusion, because this number 4 Poetry is quite dupeable. But I'm happy to own that pink shade. The combo is quite nice. So I hope this was useful. Until next time. Bye bye.